Hello and welcome to Go Ballistic, Sun Sports podcast on all things Euro 2024. My name's Roger Hanna, with me is my colleague Gareth Law. In today's edition, we will be with Chief Football Writer Robert Grieve and the voice of Sun Sport Bill Leckie with the Scotland squad in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. We'll also be with Derek McGregor, who's with the Swiss, ahead of Wednesday night's big game in Cologne. Gareth, it's taken us about 2.5 days. Are we just about over the pain of Munich on Friday night?
I think it's going to take a long time to get over that one, Roger. For the fans, it's going to take a long time. The players, they can't have that time. They've got to react right now. We spoke last week. I think I said they needed a little bit of luck along the way, but you've got to make your own luck, and they didn't do a lot of that on Friday night. So many things that you would imagine would be default instructions or default things that they'd have to do on the park, i.e. close down Tony Kroos, Billy Gilmour start, things like that. None of it happened. We obviously heard what Steve Clarke thought about it yesterday. As he said, he fronted things up. I think if he hadn't have spoken yesterday, we'd have all been waiting, and when he spoke the day before the next game, it would have still been lingering. So hopefully by the fact that he's come out and dealt with that, several of the various issues from the game, hopefully that is a way that at least the squad and the team can move on. Everybody's
spirits have taken a bit of a bashing. You've been to Kilt, you've been to Jimmy Wig, the beard's a bit greyer than it was last week. Have we got that immediate opportunity though to get the mood back up by a positive result against the Swiss?
Yes. You would like to think that there'd be a little bit more of a, not that there shouldn't have been a drive and a desire to perform well on Friday, but there's a big point to prove now. You'd like to think Billy Gilmour will come in. We all watched the Swiss on the weekend, and whilst they started well, I think they did show signs. Hungary proved that they could be got at. There was a little bit of a period in the second half where Hungary were on top and potentially could have got that equaliser. So I think Switzerland have obviously got some top players in Xhaka and Sommer and Akanji in defence. So it's not going to be a walkover by any stretch of the imagination. But you would like to think. I mean, Scotland have to take something from it. Otherwise, it's all but over, isn't it? I mean, theoretically they could still sneak a best third place spot, but it's very unlikely if they don't take something.
They're not giving the Tartan much hope here, Gary. Can we do it on Wednesday night? I mean, despite everything we've seen in both our game on Friday and the Swiss game on Saturday, think Euro 96, think Villa Park, think Ali McCoy, surely we can beat the Swiss.
Oh, 100%, Roger. I mean, because this team has done it before. We spoke last week. We said there's players in this Scotland team who are used to these big games. They won't be phased. They were phased on Friday, or they certainly looked that way. So it's now about them going out there. And I mean, the shame of it all is that Scotland are a better team than they showed on Friday. Yeah. We all know that. We've seen that in the qualifying campaign. People who haven't seen that in the qualifying campaign are looking at that one game and thinking, what's this Scotland team about? So I think, yes, 100% Scotland can beat Switzerland. But there's a sort of pressure on them, to perform to qualify, but also to show that they are not anywhere as bad as they looked on Friday.
Great, Gareth. Thanks very much. Well, we can now head to Stuttgart to our football editor, Derek McGregor, the only Scottish journalist with the Swiss camp as they build up for Wednesday night's crucial game in Cologne. Derek, you were at Switzerland's win against Hungary on Saturday. Were you impressed with the display?
Hugely impressed, Roger. The Swiss, from the goalkeeper Jan Sommer through to their attack, were excellent. Strong. I thought they were exceptional for about an hour against Hungary. They bullied them. They dictated play. The one encouragement for Scotland, I thought, Roger, was that Hungary scored and started putting them under a bit of pressure, and they were kind of, for a 5-10 minute period, it looked as if they were buckling, but in fairness to Switzerland, they were strong, and of course they scored a decisive third in injury time.
Scotland, of course, are scarcely seen as an attacking force against Germany and Munich on Friday night. Is the key for Steve Clarke's side to do what the Hungarians did during that spell in the second half and try and get on the front foot and cause the Swiss defence problems?
Absolutely, Roger. That was certainly an insight into how Switzerland deal with pressure. And to be fair to Hungary, Hungary had them worried, and Hungary had a bit of momentum. I think it's to the credit of the Swiss defence that they were fairly stout with the work that they did. But of course, Scotland were so poor on Friday, Roger, that we know that Scotland from really the start have to show so much more. And then we'll see how Switzerland deal with that.
The Swiss captain, Granit Xhaka, a double winner in Germany this season with Bayer Leverkusen. He landed the UEFA Man of the Match award on Saturday. Is it important Scotland don't let him dictate the way they allowed Tony Kris to dictate in Munich on Friday?
100%, Roger. But I think that the Swiss... I was really impressed with the other options that the Swiss had. And this morning I was speaking to Michel Aebischer, who was terrific on Saturday, scored a great goal, had an assist. So, like Germany, you can maybe pay close attention to one particular player. The problem is when the opposition have 3 or 4 other decent players, they can switch play quickly. But yes, I mean, Granit Xhaka was outstanding on Saturday, and he is particularly key to how Switzerland play.
They've been saying all the right things. I know you also spoke to Aebischer after the game, immediately after the game on Saturday. He said they expect a backlash from Scotland. The number 2, Giorgio Contini, who you spoke to at the press conference yesterday, said likewise. Are they platitude, or are they worried that Scotland can't play as badly as they did on Friday night?
No, I think it's genuine, Roger. I think just as Germany genuinely respected Scotland in the build-up to the game, the same can be said for the Swiss when they talk about they expect better from Scotland. We expect better from Scotland. And I think as poor as we were on Friday night, I think we also know the Scotland team are better than that. And I think the Swiss consistently are putting that message out. But I do think it's for real. This isn't some kind of patronising kind of platitude. They are expecting a whole different Scotland team.
And they do have a goal threat, the Swiss. You saw Dua scoring the goal. Aebischer, you mentioned, get the second, and Drelan Bolo come off the bench to get the third. Amdouni, who's played in the English Premier League with Burnley through the season, only got a few minutes off the bench. They have threats from different areas.
It's amazing how perceptions in football can change so quickly, Roger. The Swiss media, when they actually saw Murat Yakin's team selection on Saturday, Dua up front, pretty much an international rookie. Shaqiri on the bench, Amdouni on the bench. I think at that point there was amazement and I think disbelief. Yet Murat Yakin with the result was utterly justified. And of course, all of a sudden with Dua's success, they've now got more depth up front. They can trust him more. The Mbolo is a remarkable story given that he had serious injury. And he only just returned to action in April. So it's almost like a fairy tale for him to come back and score so quickly at the Euros. But I've seen enough from them, Roger, that they have plenty of areas where they can cause us problems.
It would be a fairy tale for Scotland if we could bounce back from that 5-1 opening defeat. Well, 4 points from these 2 games, the Swiss on Wednesday night, Hungary on Sunday night. 4 points would take us through, Derek, yeah?
You'd like to think so, Roger, but of course, we have to win one of those games. And I think certainly not losing to Switzerland is obviously critical. If we lose, we're out. But let's still cling to some hope. But I think the Switzerland game in its own way is every bit as tough as Friday.
Derek, thanks very much for that insight. I'll let you back to the Toblerone with the Swiss training camp there. We'll speak to you again before the game. Thanks very much.
All the best.
Good morning, Michel. It is Derek McGregor from the Scottish Sun. Your Bologna teammate, Lewis Ferguson, should have been part of the Scotland squad at the Euros, but is still dealing with the disappointment of injury. Could you please give me a message for him? Tell me how good you think he was last season and how good do you think he can become?
First of all, Luis is a big friend of me. We shared a room in Bologna in the hotel, so he's a really good friend. He's a really, really good player. He did a perfect season almost. Yeah, unfortunately he got injured, but I think he already is a really good player, but he can become even better. He has a lot of qualities with the ball, without the ball. He's always there where the ball arrives. He scores a lot of goals. He does assists, so he's a complete player, and he can become even bigger than he already is.
Congratulations on your performance on Saturday. The midfield will be very important on Wednesday. It's probably Scotland's strongest position. McTominay, McGinn, McGregor. How important do you think it is that Switzerland gain control of that position?
Yeah, I think in every game it's important to get the control in the midfield, because it's like the heart of the game. We know that Scotland has a really good midfield, so it will be important to keep the ball, so that the Scotland team doesn't get the ball, that we have the control of the game, and yeah, when we lose the ball, to try to get it back as fast as possible, and yeah, we will try to do this on Wednesday.
And finally from me, what do you think the potential is of this Switzerland team?
I think the potential is huge, because we have a lot of international top players, so if we grow even more as a team, there is a really big potential, and we can arrive far in this tournament. But first of all, we also know there's a tough game on Wednesday, so we don't look too far. So we just concentrate on the next game on Wednesday against Scotland.
Thank you, Michel.
Now we can head live to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. You're getting two for the price of one this morning. Our chief football writer, Robert Grieve, and the voice of Sunsport, Bill Leckie. I have been marvelling at your video you've been sending in earlier this morning. Please tell the Go Ballistic viewers and listeners, where have you been this morning?
Well, Bill, what's it called? We've been to the top of Germany, Zugspitze, 9,717 feet above sea level, up a cable car, which made my colleague here brought out the bravery in him, I have to tell you.
I made it eventually. It was a little wobbly, Roger, let me tell you, a little wobbly getting up there. It's a very high mountain.
Now,
and a glass bottom cage.
Oh, dear. Now, to quote Robert from your video this morning, Scotland do have a mountain to climb, starting in Cologne on Wednesday night.
Yeah, very much so. After pretty much a dire performance against the Germans in Munich on Friday, it just wasn't good enough. We were expecting so much more from Steve Clarke and the team. Listen, no one was pretty much expecting Scotland to win, but we weren't expecting that whatsoever. We'd hoped that they could maybe get a result with that, but we just expected a better performance. It wasn't good enough. We didn't lay a glove on Germany, and if things are going to improve against the Swiss on Wednesday night, the performance levels have to increase significantly.
I'm hoping that's a lake behind you and not the tears of the Tartan Army, but there were some sad faces coming away from the Munich football arena on Friday night. Has the team got it in them to put a smile back on faces?
Well, the more you talk to the players, on the Friday night it was all devastated, humiliated, blah, blah, blah. The more you talk to them now, the more they say, look, we've got each other's backs, we understand now what we have to do, but we're never going to, stand or fall in the Germany game. This is when it counts. And as we were saying earlier on this morning to each other, you can only take them at their word, but there is no if about this, Roger. This is a must. If we're having this conversation on Thursday saying, well, it happened again, maybe we'll still crawl through with 3 points, blah, blah, blah. We have to do it Wednesday night. There's just this is pivotal for this Scotland team.
Robert, you spoke to Steve Clarke yesterday. He said he had to kick some backsides, and then there were others he gave a little cuddle to. The disappointment, it's great for us. The players must share that disappointment. Will they take a bit of lifting after the scale of that defeat?
Yeah, I think that's only natural that that's going to be the case, but they still have to expect better, and they still have to accept a manager who does that to them. It wasn't good enough. If Andy Robertson or John McGinn or Scott McTominay have any issue with the Scotland manager, they're upset or angry with them, then I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. But I don't think that will be the case. I think these guys are top level players. They play in the Premiership in England, and they will know their level wasn't good enough. Now, nobody likes criticism. Nobody likes getting a manager giving them a hard time. But bottom line is, it's the truth. It wasn't good enough. So they have to show a reaction. They have to show that they are playing for the manager, and they have to show they are playing for the fans and the rest of the country. Because it's one thing not playing very well against Germany, but Switzerland, they're a decent team as well. But has to be so much more in terms of the tempo, aggression, everything that you want from a Scotland team. It just wasn't there.
But when you were chatting at the top of the mountain, you were talking team selection, the possibility of James Forrest maybe at right wing back, Scott McKenna at centre half, Billy Gilmore starting the game as well. But does Scotland require more from a McGinn, more from a McTominay, more from a McGregor? The guys who led them through qualifying didn't particularly turn up, to quote the captain.
Well, to be fair, John McGinn said it straight after the game as well. Kieran Tierney said it, is that the big names and the dressing room, and I think they're the ones who probably, whether Steve Clarke will do this in front of the squad, whether he'll do it individually, but they were the ones that really need to be told, listen, you raise your level. I mean, there was more inexperienced guys that you would look at and say a little bit rabbit in the headlights, but these are the boys now that kind of square in the middle of the park, McGregor, McGinn, Gilmer, McTominay, Christie, whoever plays, they have to be much better. They have to bring us up the park. We can't be sitting in there vulnerable the way we did the other night.
Thing is, Roger, as well, I mean, Steve Clarke was critical of them. Just the same as the press were, fans were, everyone was. There's nothing that's been written in the last few days that hasn't been said in the pubs and social clubs around Scotland, and it probably was said in the Scotland dressing room as well. Everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet here. Nobody's been overly critical. We expect better from these players because we think they're good players.
We also expect better from the manager. I think if the players are going to have to take the kick up the bum, I think the manager's big enough and old enough to take that as well, because he didn't get everything right on Friday night. He admits himself he didn't get his message across properly to the players. Whether that's the fault of the players or the manager, we don't know. But the whole thing, everything has to be better on Wednesday. Absolutely everything has to be better.
Gents, that's great. Now you're back in terra firma. I'll let you go for your beloved cake and coffee. I know you've got a busy day with the Scotland press conference later. From Sun Sports, Anton Deck, thanks very much. We're desperate for a Wednesday night takeaway. Thanks very much for watching and listening. We will be back again tomorrow to look ahead to Scotland's crucial Group A clash with Switzerland and Cologne. By then, it'll be 24 hours to kick off. Thanks again.